Hello. Today we will begin discussing weathering. We're going to start off with mechanical weathering. Mechanical weathering occurs when physical forces break rock into smaller and smaller pieces without changing the rock's mineral composition. There are three types of mechanical weathering. These are frost wedging, unloading, and biological activity. Frost wedging is when water has accumulated inside of the rock and eventually causes the rock to break. So as we can see in this top picture, water has entered the rock and eventually more and more water has accumulated. After time, this rock is going to split. We can remember this by the word wedge. So it's like we stuck a wedge inside of the rock in order to make that chunk break off. And by the word frost, because it takes water to freeze and defrost inside of it. As we know, water expands and becomes larger, about 9% larger, when it freezes. And this means that anytime you freeze water, it's going to get bigger. And so when it gets inside of the rock, it's going to expand and become larger. Unloading is when reduced pressure on igneous rock caused it to expand and allowed slabs of outer rock to break off in layers. So we can see that in this picture, pressure has reduced, allowing the outside of the rock to start sagging and heading downhill. This can lead to erosion on either side, as well as erosion. The third kind is biological activity. Biological activity is the activity of humans and animals and plants that would be the cause of mechanical weathering. So as we see here in this tree, the roots have grown so far into the rock that it has begun to cause the rock to split. This is a type of biological activity and also a type of mechanical weathering. Humans accelerate this process with the creation of new roads and deforestation. Anytime that a chunk of rock breaks off of the mountain, so here in the picture we can see that frost wedging has occurred, so water has accumulated in the mountain and a chunk of it is broken off. The debris at the bottom is known as talus. At the opposite side of mechanical weathering is chemical weathering. Chemical weathering is the transformation of rock into one or more new compounds. Different from mechanical weathering, because mechanical weathering would be like if you took a piece of paper and you ripped it up into a bunch of tiny pieces. All you did was change the shape of the paper. While chemical weathering would be like if you lit the paper on fire, you now change the actual composition of that paper. The type of chemical weathering that we're going to focus on is called spheroidal weathering. Spheroidal weathering occurs when corners and edges of rock become more rounded. So the actual outside look and the composition of the rock has changed. And we can see that all of the edges of the rocks have become round. Spheroidal weathering. Let's review. We first talked about mechanical weathering. Now, mechanical weathering has to do with the shape, and that was frost wedging when the water froze and defrosted, unloading with the reduced pressure, and biological activity from plants, animals, and humans. Then we talked about chemical weathering. Now, chemical weathering is different because we're changing the chemical composition. Our example of that was spheroidal weathering. Thank you.